Mercedes Watson was born in Brooklyn, New York, and raised in Norristown, PA. She transparently shares her life experiences as a survivor and the effects and victories over adversity and trauma as a published author and poet. Please welcome Shantay.
So we are here today because many of us have experienced, or we know someone who has experienced, sexual trauma. We place these violations under umbrellas such as stranger rape, acquaintance rape, sexual assault, sexual harassment, molestation. And while these commonalities bond us together, my desire is that we become linked together in our victory instead. When we think of the word audacity, I think of the audacity that life and people had to do the things that they did to us. But then I turn it around and I say, look at all of us having the audacity to come out here and to stand up and to fight, having the audacity to live, having the audacity to survive, having the audacity to still flourish. So give yourselves a hand because you are an audacious group of people. So one of the things that I believe holds survivors back from becoming overcomers is a vicious attack with a force called shame. So I'm going to share a spoken word piece now in hopes of annihilating this monster, that it holds us captive no more. They warned me not to tell anyone but God. And in that moment, you were given a name. I didn't know much about you at the time, but you were very quietly known as Shame. S-H-A-M-E. You began to walk with me daily, and I fought with you constantly. I don't deserve this. I don't want this, I'd scream. Yet you were relentless and persistent in your pursuit to become one with my identity. Not quite visible to anyone else, but to me, you'd make your presence known, tapping me on the shoulder and irking me and reminding me of how close we had grown. Well, I had no choice with you, Shane. I cooperated to avoid us being exposed. I became paranoid, feeling sworn to your secrecy, always wondering, does anyone else know? Because they told me not to tell anyone but God, as if no one else had encountered you. So I dragged you through my days and I wished you away at night, and then I finally gave in to your truth. And I hid behind you, Shane. You see, I thought you were my punishment, so I suffered in silence and in pain and in guilt. I walked around with this huge smile on my face, falsely protected by the wall that you had built. I wasn't in denial, but I did my best to avoid you. Some days I just merely existed and struggled to deal. How did I not see you coming to overtake me? You were the reason these wounds took so long to heal. But within time, though, I began to learn your ways. Your creeping was nothing new under the sun. You tried to hold me hostage in my mind. You tried to isolate me. Yes, you tried to convince me that I'm the only one. You set out to destroy my esteem, but I decided to use you as a lesson instead. You see, you may be a part of my history, Shame, but you're not who I am. I am a survivor of the ignorance that society spread. They said not to tell anyone but God because they were afraid and didn't understand. But I educated myself and I encouraged myself and I set to change the course of your plan. So now, I battle you differently. I use you to make me more aware, more conscious, and stronger. So my sob story, my guilt, my shame, you shall be no longer. No longer shall I feel disgraced. No longer shall I ask why. No longer shall I lose sleep for you. No longer shall I think of you and cry. No longer shall I give you my power. No longer shall I wear you on my sleeve. No longer shall I cower in defeat when others find out that you've known me. You see, I know that God's grace is sufficient for me and that his power is made perfect in my weakness. So shame on you, shame, for making me feel I had a dirty little secret. You're only an occurrence in my life, and everyone has met you, shame. But now that I know how to navigate your afflictions, I shall no longer dignify you with that name. They said not to tell anyone but God, as if your part of my story isn't true. But what I know, despite what they say, is there's so much more to me than what you've put me through. So on the count of 3, I want us all to say goodbye to shame. 1, 2, 3.